بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, it is a pleasure to bring you our first in a series of conversation with the MCNJ community members, which we like to call Meet the Community. We think this is a great opportunity, especially considering all of us are stuck at home, to meet different members of the community and to see how they've contributed either in the past, in the present, or inshallah, they can help contribute to us in the future. And our first noble guest is our beloved Ustad Habibuna Ahmed Sherif Ahmed, I'm sorry. And we have a few questions for him, inshallah, so hopefully we can learn a little bit more about him. I'm sure many of you know him. He's been a regular contributor here at the masjid. He still comes, walillah alhamd, at least once a month to deliver a program for our Fajr Club. But we'll let him talk a little bit more of how he contributes to the community, inshallah. So the first question for you, Ustadna Kiram, is what is it that you do?
Assalamu alaikum, Imam Farhan. It's a pleasure to be part of the program, and I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that community is safe and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect all of us during this very trying time. I miss all my brothers at MCNJ, and I am very happy to once again to be part of this. I had about maybe 18 years on in mergers and acquisitions. So that's my professional background. I worked for a number of companies in New York City, and most recently, 5 months ago, I joined Islamic Relief USA in the position of finance administration, vice president of finance administration. I oversee the daily operations of the organization. My education background is in economics and statistics, so we're hoping that we can move the organization in more of a direction and that is data driven, and maybe gives us like more visibility into the different community members around the US.
Inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you and to make your mission successful. Ameen. So the second question is, how long have you been part of the MCNJ community? I know you just moved recently, a little bit further away from us also.
Yeah, so about a year ago, I moved to Monroe Township. So I'm a good 20 minutes away from MCNJ, but I still come to the masjid. I have a monthly program about the lives of the Sahaba and the second generation, Tabi'een. So basically, I've been part of the community for a while, a few years, and I contributed so many different capacities. I love to volunteer for MCNJ, whether it's for the Eid program, whether it's for the Scouts program, or a different, amazing, nice offerings by MCNJ. I always love to participate, and I really consider, the brothers, they are very, very close to my heart. We usually have breakfast every once a month. I mean, barakallah. So so it's one of the very unique communities that I've been part of, and I've been part of a number of communities where people, mashallah, are very, very close, and they extremely humble, and they very committed to the service of the community. So I really appreciate that.
Okay, so that was actually our third question: is how is it that you contributed? But alhamdulillah, you were already able to answer that. So changing gears a little bit, what do you enjoy doing maybe in your free time, Islamically, secularly?
Yeah, so I love playing tennis. It's a non-contact sport. So
really?
after
I didn't know that. This is completely new information to me. Is it possible to move your camera down a little bit? We're losing you as you lean back.
Sure. Is this better?
Better, yes.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so my oldest son Ubay plays tennis. He got me into it. I used to play for years, and then I kind of was not very consistent, and then I started playing again. So I picked up my tennis game once or twice a week. I try to maintain that, but
you're breaking the stereotype.
No,
they're only allowed to play soccer.
After many years of playing soccer, now reverting back to tennis and non-contact, because I can't take the pain of soccer anymore. So many injuries.
Well, I was gonna say the verbal pain. The physical one is usually manageable.
I know. That's right.
So how long would you say that you've been part of the community here at MCNJ?
Yeah, I think so. I started going to MCNJ, I believe, back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So a good 12 years.
MashaAllah,
Yeah,
tabarakallah.
yeah, yeah. I
Alhamdulillah.
remember the parking lot. I remember when MCNJ had no parking lot, and then people were not allowed to come into the parking lot for like a good year until we had our first permit and
Subhanallah.
yeah. So we had some interesting times.
And now people try to make it into the parking lot for Jummah, like to overcrowd it, right?
Then it's basically it's a VIP pass just to
Yeah,
get into the
subhanallah.
parking lot. You have to come in like
Subhanallah.
an hour early.
Allah yasir. Allah yasir. Taib, so you've been in the community what, almost 12 years, mashallah.
Yeah.
So from where it's been until today and where it is, what are some programs or what are some things that you would like to see in order to help the community grow? Or because you're already working within another Islamic organization that complements a lot of what current organizations do. What do you think that maybe Islamic Relief can offer, or what do you think that the masjid should start doing independently, or what are some things that you feel are areas of improvement?
Yeah, so it's a great question actually, and I'm very I appreciate the question because I actually I think having um, been with an Islamic organization, a bigger Islamic organization, I would say like Islamic Relief for a few months now, I have a better understanding coming from like a grassroots, like one of the communities in New Jersey, and then working for a national organization. I think it gives you a clarity and more visibility into what is really missing. And I think, in my opinion, what's really missing is for centers and grassroots organizations such as MCNJ to leverage the institutional knowledge built over the course of a number of years by a community inspired organization such as Islamic Relief. So I mean to say there is a lot of wealth of knowledge, be it the amazing robust operation that is basically taking place on the level of Islamic Relief in different regions around the country, each
So
regional office.
I don't mean to cut you off, Ustaz Sharif, but maybe for those of us out there who don't really understand what institutional knowledge is it possible you give us an example of that?
Yeah, so for example, Islamic Relief is located right outside DC. As a matter of fact, they have an office in DC. So there is an advocacy platform. Basically, Islamic Relief is part of um, a, an advocacy initiative with a number of other organizations, and they're able to affect that decision making. To lobby on behalf of Muslims, for example, or at least to convey what the social good that Muslims are doing around the country. So MCNJ is part of this effort, right? And on a grassroots level in New Jersey. So are we conveying that story, and are we able to to maybe leverage this advocacy platform to maybe benefit the local community? That's something. So, for example, the local elected officials in New Jersey, do they know how much good Muslims around the country are doing, and are they able to help a local organization like MCNJ to do more in their own capacity in their own locality?
Okay.
So that conversation could be facilitated. That's a good example. In addition to so many things in that under like institutional knowledge, there's a lot that could be done. You have infrastructure across the country. How can we maybe leverage this to benefit MCNJ?
Okay.
So that's what I mean by institutional knowledge. Yes.
All right. So basically, what I'm hearing or what I'm understanding, and hopefully you can correct me, is that there are a lot of services that Islamic Relief specifically provides, but more on a national scale, and Islamic Relief can be our national representative, and we can be their local representative here. Does that make sense, or is that a good way of
Yeah.
putting it?
Yeah, so the representative is maybe not the exact term I would use. I would use
Mhm.
like partner, right?
Okay.
So
Yes.
that form of partnership. So basically, there are so many different services that we already lobby for, and because we have so many different food pantries around the country, for example. Why
Okay.
can we get like a food pantry for MCNJ?
Okay.
And, you know, if we get a food pantry for MCNJ, do the local officials they know, or elected officials they know, you know, about what we're doing here locally, and can they contribute to this effort?
Okay.
And so that kind of discussion needs to take place. And it happened, you know, to other communities, and should happen right here at home.
Okay, mashallah. So I'm hearing some things that Islamic Relief can do for us. My question is now, which leads into the last part of the question, what should we be doing independently? Because there are many things that we need to partner in. I definitely agree with you. And there are a lot of services that Islamic Relief can leverage for MCNJ. But what are some things that, not just MCNJ, but masajids in general, should actively and continuously work on doing on an independent level? Or does everything, or do you feel everything needs to be a partnership?
No, of course. I mean, there's basically very distinct variables when it comes to a local community. So, you know, the Go Plant a Tree project, for example, on the West Coast, I don't know, in the Bay Area would not necessarily be the most popular program here in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and so on, right? So they're particular, like, you know, sort of like initiatives that would like take root in one community and not necessarily another. And that is really the kind of struggle for us, that we need to figure out what really is needed, you know, here. So a needs assessment, for example,
Okay.
is a wonderful practice that we should be engaged in, along with other, you know, faith-based organizations and so, and we should serve Muslims and non-Muslims or whatever. So that's one thing that we could do differently here. And I'm sure you know this better than me. You're involved with, you know, the initiative with different priests and you know, religious leaders,
Yeah.
and you can do this better than anyone else. But this is just one example. There is a lot of things that are being offered here that we are not really leveraging or participating in. Also, their very unique qualities are our own community members have that other community members don't have. For example, let me tell you, we have one of the youngest volunteer population in the whole volunteer scene, nationally speaking, right?
Mashallah.
So we, you know, between
Well,
like,
that's good to know.
yeah, between young Muslims, between our own volunteers at MCNJ, between, you know, there's just so many, there's a lot of young energy, and that is like a competitive advantage, if you will, when it comes to like partnering with, you know, a typical church program. Their volunteer crowd or volunteer core is not as young as ours, for example. So we can do a lot of things that maybe they would not necessarily be able to get involved in, and that, you know, so we have a lot to offer, and I think it just, we need to have that, figure out what, you know, have like a needs assessment, like analysis, and figure out what are the needs on the ground, and then match that need with the resources that we have, and that would be like a meaningful approach to problem solving.
Yeah, that's one of the most frustrating things for me here in New Jersey. A lot of people, they ask about, you know, what's going on and in the masjid and stuff. And the biggest thing for me is untapped potential.
Yeah.
You know, and that's extremely frustrating to see all this potential around you, to see all these people around you, to see, you know, all the different skill sets you have available, and it's just not being tapped the way that it should.
And it's the to solve the problem is completely doable, right? So
Yeah.
it really boils down to just organizing, you know, the amazing talent and you know, skill sets that we have. We have a wealth of like amazing individuals in our community, and they are engaged, and to the point, you know, that some people are just like not as engaged as they would like to be, and they turned off because there is no opportunity for them to be engaged in, which is a good problem to have, right?
Yes.
If
No,
you
no,
have like,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, exactly.
So I guess this leads into it's very much tied into the last point of discussion, which is what would you advise specifically, because you've been part of this community for so long, for over a decade, what would you advise this community specifically? You know, whether it be the community or myself, you know, what are some closing thoughts, or what are some things that you feel that definitely need to be improved on? Because you mentioned a number of positive points, and I think that's great, but not everything is, even a bed of roses has thorns, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's a traditional Prophet ﷺ that he was
Listen.
very keen about involving youth in positions of leadership, taking ownership, not just to sort of like play a secondary role or whatever. So it's very important to remember examples from like Zaid collected the Quran. To remember examples of you know.
Osama, reading of the
Osama,
Talmud.
who
Yeah.
led the
أيوة.
Muslim army.
أحسنت. أحسنت.
There's just we have a lot of young people who are absolutely amazing leaders, and if we just like get out of their way and let them like run, they're gonna run fast and they're gonna make us proud. So I really
I think you mentioned a very important point there, a very important condition.
yeah,
Just
yes, it's just we really need to get out of
get
the
the
way.
guy out of the way.
It's about youth empowerment, right?
Yeah.
So when we say empowerment, it's not like some generic term. We really have to give it like life, and context, right? So it truly means that we are standing at the back of the room and not and not holding the mic and not dictating every single move and every single play. It really comes down to like a safe space where our own youth could like make mistakes sometimes, and that is okay, and we can correct these mistakes. Our sisters, that is an unbelievable like resource of amazing talent and
Absolutely.
empowerment that we
Absolutely.
it just sisters are amazing, and if we really allow them, and we should not maybe use this term I mean it's their god-given right to have a seat at the table. On all or maybe I don't know, any decision making body is lacking sisters representation, not because of sisters cannot really like be in these kind of positions. I think they'll do an amazing job, but we have to facilitate for this to happen. We really consciously have to seek out the contribution participation of sisters, and when they get involved they really make some paradigm shifts. And I've seen this. I'm not just out of experience. I've seen this when we have some amazing sisters who have this whole virtual existence that we live right now online is facilitated for the most part across different communities that I've visited by sisters, virtually visited online. It's all by sisters. I've dealt with sisters, I don't know, and maybe about this last like 7 or 8 communities I participated with in any kind of capacity, webinar or anything. It was for the most part facilitated by sisters. They really own the initiative and they give it life and traction. So these are two things. Youth and sisters are going to make some amazing things happen.
Inshallah. Yeah. I like to say, I was just talking to a brother today. I said, micromanagement leads to macro failure.
Yes, so that is accurate for the most part. I think some micromanagement is necessary sometimes, but for the most part it chokes like initiatives and creativity and doesn't allow for people to grow and take ownership in initiatives. They just become followers and semi-invested versus like being all there.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah,
Jazakumullah khair, ya akhi. It was a very enlightening, very fulfilling talk, and I'm amazed that you play tennis.
Well, let's give it a shot. Hopefully, once we're out of here, sometime in the future.
No, we're maintaining social distancing. Yeah.
Actually, we could, right? So, because it's far enough, more than 6 feet, as long as we don't shake hands after games or anything.
and don't come in through the same entrance, right?
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Okay. So, like I said, may Allah Subhanahu wa Taala reward you and bless you in your new line of work and make you successful in this world and the next. I mean. And this is the final question, I promise. No more questions after this.
Sure.
Who would you like to see interviewed next?
Oh, so before I answer that question, let me tell you, this is my final comment. I think in light of this whole COVID-19 situation, we really need to consider and look into this whole stimulus package. I think there's some really amazing, built-in incentives for non-for-profit institutions like ourselves and other organizations, just for us to continue being, functioning and operational. It's important that we leverage some of these things, and we have some grants there as well. So it's really like, well within our realm here.
Sounds good. If you have maybe a couple links that you want us to share, inshallah, I can definitely put them down in the comments below.
Absolutely. So I'll chat them to you, and by all means, I'll send you the 2 programs: the economic injury disaster loan, which has a grant part built in, and also the paycheck protection program.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So
brilliant.
you still have to answer the question though, and
yes,
and you can't say Lena.
Yes, I mean that's if my wife is gonna watch this, I have to mention her name. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her. She's taking care of the kids. She's helping them do the homework. She allows me to have all this fun time on camera and while she's doing all the amazing things.
Yeah, all mothers, her and all mothers, man.
Yes, may Allah bless them all.
I mean, it's a tough time, man. It is.
I think maybe one of the very first people that I met at MCNJ is brother Ahmed Muhammad.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I will reach out to him and we'll make arrangements to talk to him.
So I strongly endorse there. Yes.
All right, Jazakallah khair, ya akhi. It was wonderful talking to you, and bi'idhnillah, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lift this waba and this bala soon, so that we are able to meet again. Ameen. Wallahu a'lam, sallallahu ala khayri khalqi nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.
Ahsan. Barakallah feek.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and donate.